Hello, Mizzou fans. Darren Whiting with the Tiger Club of Kansas City. We're here today with Mike DeCourcy, basketball expert for the Sporting News, also in-studio analyst for Big Ten Network, and we also hear him locally with 810 WHB with Nate and Steven. So thanks for coming in from Indianapolis again, Mike.
It's an honor to be invited year after year. I enjoy everybody that comes, and I hope that I guess they like me coming because they keep asking me to come back.
Last year there was a big buzz about Mizzou basketball when you were here with Michael Porter Jr. Now we head into Conzo Martin's second season after a really solid first season. You got a chance to go down there and visit Columbia yesterday. What are your thoughts about the Tigers coming up this season?
Well, I think it's a year in which they are similar to a lot of teams in college basketball this year. There are very few teams that have everything covered. And I mean, by everything covered, I mean like they might have four terrific players like Nebraska. Four terrific players, but who's the fifth? Or they may have a tremendous front court like Penn State, but who's your point guard? And I think for Mizzou, that's sort of a similar situation. I think that they have an excellent front court, potentially excellent, with Jonte Porter and Jeremiah Tillman. Those two guys, not a lot of teams have players that good inside. And now you have to say, okay, what is your perimeter like? I think obviously you have Kevin Puryear coming back, and that makes a difference. And then you have some younger players that are going to have to contribute on the wings. You're going to have to find some shooters. And then at point guard, Jordan Geist has to be someone that you can rely on to defend at that level. I think there's no question he can run a show. He can put the ball where it needs to be. He can make a shot. But he's going to have to stay in front of some really terrific point guards that play in the SEC, and obviously that's a very important thing for Conzo because he's such a defensive-oriented coach.
Your first time to see Mizzou Arena, you encouraged really the Tiger fans here today to get down and support the team. That's going to be a very important for the fans to get behind Coach Martin's team. What were your thoughts on Mizzou Arena?
Boy, I was at the Hearn Center toward the end of its existence as the home for the Tigers. I loved Mizzou Arena. I mean, I'm sort of a connoisseur of these things. I love the idea. Once upon a time, my wife and I, back when Hamilton, the Broadway show, was in with the original cast, its first year on Broadway, we had to make a decision about whether we wanted to pay top dollar to see that show from the last row, and it was worth every penny. And so I'm a connoisseur of the last row. I want to see. A lot of buildings get built, and everybody says, "Oh, it's so pretty! Look at all this!" And then you look at the top row, and it's so far it might be in another county. And I looked up there yesterday when I was sitting on the floor, and I'm like, this place can't seat more than 10, 11, 12,000, right? And so I asked RJ, the sports information director for basketball, how at 15,000. And that's remarkable to me. That's great architecture. I love that idea that you can have suites and all that and still be so close to the. So Missouri fans have a real advantage there. You go to a game, you're going to have a good seat, and so I always encourage fans to that. Some of it's up to them. Your team is going to go on the road to, I don't know the schedule off by heart, but it's going to go on the road to places like Auburn and Arkansas and maybe Kentucky and Florida that are all really tough places to play. And if your building is not a tough place to play, then it becomes a disadvantage for the team. So, if you want your team to be successful, part of it is up to you.
You mentioned the tough conference, 5 teams in the top 25 in the Sporting News preseason poll. Kentucky number 1, Tennessee number 7. So we'll kind of, last year we asked you a little bit about Final Four picks, but we asked you about a sleeper last year who maybe would look good during the year, and you said somebody like Villanova or something. Kind of turned out to be a pretty good. So people have been calling in and asking us to make sure we get your sleeper pick for this year. So what do you think? And besides those, not just conference but nationally, who are you think is kind of a sleeper this year?
Well, as far as the SEC, I think that you're looking at the best SEC in a generation. I mean, it's been years. The league with Commissioner Sankey and hiring the various people that he did. Dan Leibovitz, Mike Tranghese as a consultant. They've done a great job with the league, and then all of a sudden, of course, all the schools had to participate in that. They had to hire when they had the opportunity really good coaches. So you brought in Rick Barnes, and when Florida had to make the transition, they brought in Mike White. It was a tough call. I mean, you're placing a two-time national champion, future Hall of Famer. They made a great call on Mike White, and it goes all the way down to Ben Howland and et cetera. So the schools in the league have done a really good job of hiring coaches, and it's made the league better and better. And so that's going to be part of the tough part for Mizzou as they sort of retool a little bit in Konzo's second year to be able to hang with some great teams. But from a standpoint of the sleeper for the year, when I picked out Villanova, it was kind of like what I would call my buyer's remorse team. We do the rankings. I don't do them personally by myself, and we have a group of people that have input. But when I put them down on paper, you go back and you think, wow, did we really only have Villanova 7 or whatever it was? And then I look right now at this group, and I like everybody that I ranked 1 to 6 or 1 to 5. But I think we have Carolina at number 6, North Carolina. And I think we made a mistake there. I think they're better than that. They have a kid named Nasir Little, who is the first elite top 10 recruit that Carolina used to get all those guys. And they haven't had one since they had the academic scandal crop up on their campus in around 2012. They've had very good players, but not that game-changing 1 year. He's going to be great immediately. Nasir will be for them. And then they have excellent veteran players, Luke May, terrific veteran player who was second-team All-American last year. They're going to need to have the point guard position covered, and that's the one that makes me a little bit wary about them, and that's probably why we put them 6th. But if they get that solved, I think it's going to probably be a freshman that does it. If they get that solved, I think they have a chance to do it all.
And finally, throw you a little curveball, but you went to school in Pittsburgh.
I did.
Worked for the Pittsburgh Press for a decade or so.
That's right.
So
you've been doing your research.
Our AFC team, rival for the Chiefs, Pittsburgh. Have you had a chance to see Patrick Mahomes yet? And what did you think about that?
In person from section 517, I believe, at Heinz Field, and he is remarkable. I think that day he put up 42. I think the final score was 42-37. 6 touchdown passes. He's phenomenal. He's a great player. And then I saw, obviously, the lefty pass. What a remarkable play that was. Chiefs are really fortunate to have him. They were smart, too, to draft him. I mean, I think they handled his first year great, and then turning over the team to him. I think that Chiefs fans have a lot to look forward to over the next 15 or 20 years.
Great. Folks, to get insights like that, when Mike DeCourcy comes back next year, make sure you get down here. Always a very engaged crowd, and it's always great to hear a national perspective from Mike DeCourcy. So next week we'll have Robin Pinchton, the women's basketball coach from Mizzou, talking about her upcoming highly expected season for the Lady Tigers. So make sure to get down to the Westport Flea Market next week.